The cabin stood isolated in the dense forest, its wooden walls creaking with age. The air was thick with an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves. As the sun set, shadows danced across the cabin, hinting at the horrors that lurked within. A young woman seeking solitude arrived at the cabin. She hoped to escape her troubled past, but the cabin had other plans. Unbeknownst to her, she was not alone. The lurker watched her every move, waiting for the right moment to strike. A malevolent entity had haunted the cabin for centuries. It thrived on fear, feeding off the terror of its victims. Emma's arrival had awakened it, and it was hungry. As night fell, the cabin grew colder. Emma lit a fire, hoping to ward off the chill. The fire crackled softly, but the warmth did little to comfort her. She felt a presence, an unseen force watching her from the shadows. Emma, muttering to herself, "All right, Emma, just you and a weekend with zero distractions. Peaceful, right?" She forces a smile, but the cabin groans as though responding to her. She stiffens, peering around. Emma relaxes, reading her book again, when a subtle scratching sound echoes through the cabin. She freezes, listens. Silence. She shakes her head. "Emma, it's just a raccoon. Probably." The scratching grows louder with each passing second. Emma's face pales. Her heart races as she gets up slowly, clutching her phone, approaches the door, peering out the small window. Emma, whispering to herself, It's nothing. You're alone. There's nothing out here." She turns back to the couch, but as she does, the scratching seems to come from the walls, as if something is trying to claw its way out. Emma jumps, her breath catching. Panicked, Emma retreated to the bedroom, hoping to find safety. She barricaded the door, her breathing quick and shallow. She grabs her phone, tries to call someone. No signal flashes on the screen. "Emma," under her breath, "come on, come on." Suddenly there's another loud bang, this time from a window in her bedroom. She screams, covering her mouth with a trembling hand. The scratching followed her, relentless and unyielding. Deep down, she knew it was only a matter of time before the lurker found her. Silence. She inches closer to the window, hands shaking, peering through the curtains. Nothing. She sighs, backing away. But her foot brushes something under the bed. Emma looks down, reaches slowly, pulling a faded, weathered notebook from under the bed. She opens it, flipping through pages filled with frantic scribbles and disturbing drawings. Emma, reading from the book. It comes at night, drawn to fear, to the ones who hide, never make eye contact. The previous occupants had documented their encounters with the lurker, each entry more horrifying than the last. She turns sharply, but sees nothing. She quickly shoves the notebook back under the bed. Emma lies in bed, her eyes wide open. Suddenly, a dark figure appears at the foot of her bed, its eyes glowing with malevolence. She freezes, unable to move or scream. The figure slowly approaches, its presence suffocating and oppressive. Emma, whispering to herself, "Get out! Just get out!" Emma inches toward the door. She reaches it, gripping the doorknob. Icy fingers brushed against her skin, sending chills down her spine. She turned, but there was no one there. The lurker was toying with her, enjoying her fear. Emma stumbles backward, frantically unlocking the door, and slips out into the night. Desperate to escape, Emma fled into the dense woods, panting, glancing over her shoulder. The trees seemed to close in around her, their branches reaching out like skeletal hands. She slowed, trying to catch her breath, and looked around, lost in the fog. All is silent, unnaturally so. Then she hears it. Slow, dragging footsteps echo in the distance. She could hear the lurker's whispers, urging her to give in to the darkness. She starts running again, her heart pounding as the footsteps grow louder, closer. Emma trips, falling to her knees, the lurker's whisper growing louder, filling her mind with terror. She scrambles back up, turning around, but there's no one there. She backs away, eyes darting wildly. Suddenly, a pair of hollow, gleaming eyes peer at her from the darkness, inches away. She gasps, paralyzed, as the creature leans in, sniffing her face with jagged yellow teeth, whispering. The lurker, whispering in a raspy voice, "Don't look! Away!" Emma squeezes her eyes shut, terrified. The creature's hand caresses her face, fingers cold and sharp. The lurker, almost gently, "Open your eyes. I want you to see." Emma shudders, too scared to open her eyes, but the creature's grip tightens, forcing her to look. She opens her eyes, facing its hollow gaze. The creature smiles, and the screen fades to black with her terrified scream. Emma realized there was no escape. The lurker had claimed another victim. Emma suddenly stops, her eyes catching something glinting in the moonlight. It's an old, dusty book. Pause 2S. Cut to. Emma is now in the attic of her house, the book clutched in her trembling hands. She brushes off the dust, revealing a worn cover with strange symbols etched into it. Pause 2S. She sits down, opening the book to find eerie drawings and cryptic messages about the lurker. Each page she turns seems to pulse with an unsettling energy, the illustrations becoming more grotesque and the messages more ominous. Pause 2S. Emma's voice trembling. What is this? Pause 2S. As she reads, she begins to feel a presence around her, the air growing colder, the shadows in the attic seeming to move. She looks around, her fear mounting but sees nothing. Pause 2S. Close up on Emma's face, her eyes wide with realization and terror. She whispers, "It's real." Pause 2S. Suddenly the attic door slams shut, plunging her into darkness. The screen fades to black with the sound of her panicked breathing filling the silence. Pause 2S. Voiceover, dark and foreboding. The book was just the beginning. The lurker is closer than ever. Pause 2S. The screen stays black for a moment, building suspense, before transitioning to the next scene. The night is still, but an unsettling aura hangs in the air. Pause 2S. Inside the cabin, the camera pans across the living room where objects begin to move on their own. A picture frame slides off the shelf. A chair creaks as if someone invisible is sitting down, and a candle flickers before extinguishing itself. Pause 2S. Cut to Emma, lying in bed, her eyes wide open. She hears faint whispers outside her bedroom door. The whispers grow louder, more insistent, as if they're trying to communicate something she can't quite understand. Pause 2S. Emma's voice, barely a whisper. Who's there? Pause 2S. The camera zooms in on the door, which slowly creaks open on its own. The room grows colder and Emma's breath becomes visible in the frigid air. Pause 2S. Cut to the kitchen, where utensils begin to rattle and drawers open and close violently. Emma rushes in, her eyes darting around the room. The whispers follow her, echoing off the walls. She clutches the book tighter, realizing it might be the key to understanding these occurrences. Pause 2S. Voiceover, ominous. The lurker's presence is no longer a distant fear. It's here, in the cabin, watching, waiting. Pause 2S. The camera captures Emma's terrified expression as she backs away from the kitchen, retreating towards the safety of her bedroom. Pause 2S. Close up on Emma's face, her eyes filled with determination and fear. She whispers, "I have to find a way to stop this." Pause 2S. The screen fades to black, leaving the audience with a sense of impending dread. Pause 2S. Voiceover, dark and foreboding. The haunting has begun and Emma's fight for survival is only just starting. The camera slowly pans up to her face, illuminated only by the dim light of a bedside lamp. Her eyes are wide with fear but also with determination. Pause 2S. Cut to Emma sitting at her desk, flipping through the brittle pages of the book. Her fingers trace the faded, handwritten text. The voiceover continues, ominous and foreboding. Voiceover, dark and foreboding. As Emma delves deeper into the book, she uncovers the dark history of the lurker. Pause 2S. The screen transitions to a series of old, sepia-toned illustrations and handwritten notes. The camera zooms in on a drawing of a shadowy figure lurking in the woods, eyes glowing ominously. Voiceover. For centuries, this malevolent entity has haunted the cabin, preying on its inhabitants and feeding off their fear. Pause 2S. Cut to Emma's face, her eyes reflecting the flickering candlelight as she reads aloud from the book. Her voice shakes with each word. Emma, it is said that the lurker was once a man, a hermit, who lived in these woods. Consumed by dark magic, he transformed into a creature of pure evil. Pause 2S. The screen shows more illustrations. Villagers fleeing in terror, the cabin engulfed in shadow, and a figure standing alone in the woods, eyes burning with malice. Voiceover, echoing Emma's words. A creature of pure evil. Pause 2S. Cut to Emma, her face pale and drawn as she closes the book with a sense of finality. She looks around the room, the weight of the lurker's history pressing down on her. Voiceover, solemn and grave. The lurker's curse has claimed many lives and now it has set its sights on Emma. Pause 2S. The camera captures Emma's determined expression as she stands up, clutching the book to her chest. She knows what she must do. Voiceover, resolute. But Emma is not like the others. She will fight, she will uncover the truth, and she will end the Lurker's reign of terror. Pause 2S. The screen fades to black, leaving only the haunting echo of Emma's whispered resolve. Emma whispering, "I will stop this." Pause 2S. The music swells, eerie and suspenseful as the screen fades out, leaving the audience on the edge of their seats, eager for what comes next. Emma sits on the edge of her bed, staring blankly at the wall, the book still clutched tightly in her hands, voiceover filled with tension. As the nights grow longer, Emma's grip on reality begins to slip. Pause 2S. Cut to Emma wandering through the cabin, her footsteps echoing in the silence. She pauses, looking over her shoulder, her eyes darting around as if expecting to see something lurking in the shadows. Voiceover, whispery and haunting. Visions of the Lurker plague her every waking moment. Pause 2S. The screen flickers, showing brief, distorted images of a dark, shadowy figure with glowing eyes. Emma gasps, clutching her head, her breaths coming in rapid, shallow bursts. Voiceover, intense and dramatic. She struggles to distinguish reality from nightmare, her mind unraveling with each passing second. Pause 2S. Cut to Emma, standing before a mirror, her reflection staring back at her with a twisted, malevolent grin. She reaches out, touching the cold glass, her fingers trembling, voiceover echoing her inner turmoil. Is it real or just a figment of her imagination? Pause 2S. The screen transitions to a series of rapid cuts. Emma scribbling frantically in the notebook, her handwriting becoming increasingly erratic, her eyes wide with fear as she peers out the window, her hands shaking as she tries to light a candle. Voiceover filled with dread. The line between sanity and madness blurs as the haunting intensifies. Pause 2S. Cut to Emma sitting on the floor, rocking back and forth, whispering to herself. The camera slowly zooms in on her face, capturing the raw fear and desperation in her eyes. Voiceover, solemn and grave. Emma's resolve is tested as she faces the horrors within and without. Pause 2S. The screen fades to black, leaving only the sound of Emma's ragged breathing and the faint, eerie whisper of the Lurker. Voiceover, ominous and foreboding. Will she succumb to the darkness or find the strength to fight back? Pause 2S. The music swells, eerie and suspenseful, as the screen fades out, leaving the audience in a state of tense anticipation, eager to see what comes next. Her face is a mask of determination, despite the lingering fear in her eyes. She clutches the notebook tightly, its pages filled with frantic notes and sketches of the Lurker. Voiceover, resolute and empowering. Emma decides it's time to confront the darkness that has haunted her for so long. Pause 2S. Cut to Emma preparing herself, gathering items she believes will help her face the Lurker. She lights candles around the room, creating a circle of flickering light. Her movements are deliberate, each action calculated. Voiceover, filled with anticipation. Armed with knowledge from the book, she prepares for a showdown with the entity. Pause 2S. The camera zooms in on Emma's face as she begins to chant, her voice steady but tinged with fear. The air around her seems to thicken, a palpable sense of dread filling the room. Voiceover, whispery and tense. The atmosphere grows heavy as the confrontation draws near. Pause 2S. Cut to. The shadows in the room begin to shift and move, slowly coalescing into the form of the Lurker. Its eyes glow with malevolent intent, and a low guttural growl fills the air. Emma takes a step back, but her resolve remains unbroken, voiceover filled with tension. The Lurker emerges, its presence oppressive and terrifying. Pause 2S. The camera captures a series of rapid cuts, Emma holding up the notebook, chanting louder. The Lurker advancing, its form becoming more defined and sinister, the candles flickering wildly as the battle between light and darkness intensifies. Voiceover, dramatic and intense. A terrifying showdown ensues as Emma faces the entity head-on. Pause 2S. Cut to Emma's face, bathed in the flickering candlelight, her eyes locked onto the Lurker. She continues to chant, her voice rising in volume and power. The entity seems to waver, its form flickering as if struggling to maintain its presence. Voiceover, triumphant and defiant. Emma's voice grows stronger, her determination unwavering. Pause 2S. The screen flickers with images of light and shadow battling for dominance. The Lurker lets out a piercing scream, its form disintegrating into wisps of darkness. Emma collapses to her knees, the notebook falling from her grasp. Voiceover, filled with relief and exhaustion. The entity's power wanes and Emma's strength prevails. Pause 2S. Cut to Emma, breathing heavily, her face a mix of relief and exhaustion. She looks around the room, now filled with an eerie calm. The camera slowly zooms out, showing the aftermath of the confrontation. Voiceover, solemn and reflective. The battle is won, but the scars remain. Emma's journey is far from over. Pause 2S. The music swells, a mix of eerie and hopeful tones as the screen fades to black, leaving the audience with a sense of catharsis and anticipation for what comes next. The once cozy interior is in ruins, with furniture overturned and the remnants of the candles scattered across the floor. The camera slowly pans across the room, capturing the aftermath of the intense confrontation. Voiceover, somber and reflective. The battle has left the cabin in ruins, a stark reminder of the terror that unfolded within its walls. Pause 2S. Cut 2. A search party cautiously enters the cabin, their flashlights cutting through the lingering darkness. They find Emma lying unconscious on the floor, her face pale but peaceful. One of the searchers kneels beside her, checking for signs of life. Voiceover, gentle and concerned. Emma is found by a search party, her body exhausted from the ordeal. Pause 2S. The screen transitions to an ambulance speeding through the night, its sirens a distant wail. Inside, paramedics work quickly to stabilize Emma, their faces tense with concentration. The camera focuses on Emma's face, her expression serene despite the chaos around her. Voiceover, hopeful yet tinged with sorrow. She is rushed to the hospital, her fate now in the hands of medical professionals. Pause 2S. Cut to the hospital room, bathed in the soft glow of morning light. Emma lies in a bed surrounded by machines that beep steadily. Her eyes flutter open and she looks around, disoriented but alive. A nurse enters the room, offering a reassuring smile, voiceover, tender and empathetic. Emma awakens, safe but forever changed by her encounter with the Lurker. Pause 2S. The camera zooms in on Emma's eyes, capturing the haunted look that remains. Flashbacks of the Lurker flicker across the screen, interspersed with Emma's face, now filled with a quiet determination. Voiceover, resolute and introspective. Though the entity is gone, the memories of the Lurker continue to haunt her. Pause 2S. The screen fades to black, the music swelling with a mix of eerie and hopeful tones. The audience is left with a sense of closure, yet an understanding that Emma's journey is far from over. Voiceover, concluding, the haunting may have ended, but Emma's story is just beginning. Pause 2S. The screen fades to black, leaving the audience with a feeling of catharsis and anticipation. Pause 2S. Voiceover, inviting. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more thrilling tales.